Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to say, Kawayim Lo Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Waha, Rakha Kodash, Ubarak double honor to the elders and apostles of Green Millstone. Peace and blessing to the hopeful light. Give me 1 second, I want to put my thing on Do Not Disturb. Alright, so we're ready to roll. Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Barakatha to all the believers. And as always, this young brother here, Shamash 1. And today's video, I'm going to go over Acts the 21st chapter on why Apostle Paul was arrested. And this sets a precedent for all the events that take place in the later chapters that you read in the book of Acts. I made a video on this before on my Both Not Against the Branches 1 page. And I believe I went over Acts 15, which ties into this. So I went over a lot of the points, like why Apostle Paul was coming to Jerusalem again and how many times he had visited Jerusalem. I've kind of went through those points already, and I'm not really gonna go through them again. Kind of forgot a lot of it, but you can go watch that video, and I kind of make some points and I go into some history on that. So let's see here. I'll start at verse 17. This book of Acts chapter 21 verse 17. And when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly, because it wasn't just Apostle Paul. There was actually a bunch of people traveling with him, which you can read about in the 20th verse. He had companions, I believe around 8 or so, but you can go look that up. And they following Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what the Most High had wrought among the Gentiles was really Israelite foreigners by his ministry. Because we know that salvation is for Israel, man. So Apostle Paul went to the Israelites. And let's get a quick precept to prove that. All right. This is the book of Romans chapter 9 and 1. I say the truth, in Yahushua Mashiach I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit. Because I really, that word ghost goes back to spirit. It's just double, well, it should be Nuema. Nuema, which goes back to the spirit. Alright, so here at NLT, with Yahushua as my witness, I speak with other truthfulness, my conscience and the Holy Spirit confirm it. Exactly, and that's what we do on the highways and byways. We don't speak our own words, man. We speak truthfulness through the Spirit, through these scriptures, man. Alright? That I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I wish that myself were accursed from Yahushai, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, for my people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, alright, which are Israelites, which is going to say in the 4th verse, okay, I would be willing to be forever cursed, cut off from Yahushua Mashiach, if that would save them. Okay, so Apostle Paul had that heavy spirit on him, man. And as you can see here, it says Jew, which that goes back to Judah, which there was no letter J back then. So when you look in the word Jew, it's like a Judas, but it really goes back to, in the Hebrew, Yahawada. All right, because it was a split of the kingdom, which you can read about in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. Basically, Solomon went off, and the Lord sent a prophet to Solomon, which told him how his kingdom would be rent, and it did. You had, if I'm correct, Jeroboam of the northern kingdom and Rehoboam of the southern kingdom, which Rehoboam was Solomon's son. So you had that split come to pass, and the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom split up. You can read about the northern kingdom in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, and also 2nd Kings, maybe the 17th chapter. Oh, I may have made a mistake. With Solomon and the kingdom being rent, that's 1 Kings 11 and 12, around there. I believe so. I believe it's 1 Kings 11 and 12. You can go read up about that. But when you want to know about how the northern kingdom left, the east, and came down here to America, well, that goes back to 2 Kings 17 with Shalmaneser V, and that, like, the siege of Samaria. And that was continued by Sargon II. And, the northern kingdom was dragged out. heathen were put in their place. And then you read Second Esdras, the 13th chapter, how the northern kingdom left and came down to America. And then you go back to Genesis 49, right? And you start looking at those prophecies like Levi and Simeon, how they're against each other. And that pretty much proves that they would be here in the Americas, or not just Americas but in the Caribbean and different places, like Hispaniola and Dominican Republic, that land. All right, Gad, the troops shall overcome him. Right, the American cavalry, that proves it. All right, Gad is a warrior tribe. And when you look at a lot of documents, I know the elder, I think his name is Tazdakba out there in Connecticut, the bishop over there, he goes into it a lot. And, basically these settlers, these Edomites that were down here, they were saying how Gad was like really fast on his feet. So that proves it. But I know that was a bit long winded, but I just wanted to touch on that real quick. All right, so you understand why you see Jew here. And that's just for new believers who really don't know. All right, or you just haven't came across history. So this is the book of Romans chapter 9 verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises. All right, so to whom pertains the adoption, right? Coming back into this truth, the glory, the kingdom, the covenants, right? The old and the new, right? The new covenant is where we're going to have these laws in our inward parts. Of course, the old, keeping the laws, which we failed. And now we're waiting for that new covenant. We're under grace right now, and we're waiting for that new covenant, which is going to come to pass. Lord willing, for the number, the elect being saved, having new bodies, having the laws in our inward parts, and not having to go off anymore. The giving of the law was given to us, all right? The service of the Most High and the promises. So everything is for Israel, man. And I actually want to get some more points on that. All right. So I want to hear on the King James, and this is a site that was created by the brother GMS FAQ. I think that page is not active anymore, so you have to check out GMS FAQ too. I think he's down there in somewhere in England. I don't really know exactly where, but he runs with those brothers. But as you can see here, a breakdown. You have it right there. To whom pertaineth the adoption, the Most High turned his back on Israel. Israel was adopted back to the Most High via the mediator Yahushai. The glory, the kingdom, the covenants, first being the covenant given via Moses, and the second covenant being the one written of in Hebrews 8, the service of God, the priesthood. Exactly. Which, of course, now the priesthood is all of us, because you read about that, how we're made a kingdom of priests, all right? And then you also have promises. What do we promise? What's the main promise? The kingdom, man. All right, having that glory, having the rulership over all people, having rulership over all these nations. But as you can see here, my brethren, my kinsmen, who are Israelites. All right, so once again, man, salvation's for Israel, okay? All right, so yeah, so we proved that. I just wanted to prove that real quick because just wanted to touch on it real quick. So this is the book of Acts, chapter 21, and we'll start at verse okay, I think I read 19, so I'll start at verse 20. This is the book of Acts, chapter 21, verse 20. And when they had heard it, they glorified the Lord, and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. All right, and remember, he's in Jerusalem, and you can read about that in Acts 21, not Acts 21, Acts 2, how many, people there were in Israelites in Jerusalem that were being converted, that were believing in Yahweh Shai. And these are people that were originally against him, but they turned back, and repented from it. So you can read about that in Acts the second chapter, and you can look into those things. uh so yeah, zealous of the law, because once again they're in Jerusalem, right? And they are informed of and of course they gave glory to the Lord Yahweh, because like obviously this thing is not of man. All right, because you can read about that in Acts the 5th chapter. If this thing come of man, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, then it's not gonna come to naught. It's you can't fight that unless happily you be found to fight against the Most High, because that's what the elites are doing. This thing that we're doing, man, it's of the Most High, man. I mean, you gotta really believe that, because no matter how many times they clown us, no matter how many times they make their propaganda, it doesn't stop us, man. You read about that in Jeremiah too. Like the words are shut up in our bones, like they're like fire. No matter what we go through, it's just like we have to come out here, man. We have to do this. It's something more, man. It's that spirit, man. The Wadi Bashim Yahushai. But you can look up that scripture in Jeremiah, maybe Jeremiah 20, the one I just quoted, the fire in the bones. But I'm not really gonna go ahead and get that one. Nero is also a law, right? Obviously. Verse 21, they are formed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews, which are among the Gentiles, to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise the children, neither to walk out of the customs. Okay, so right there proves that Apostle Paul was teaching Israelites. We just read in Romans, once again, my brethren, my kinsmen who are Israelites. So once again, Apostle Paul was teaching Israelites. Apostle Paul was going to Israelites among these different nations. Okay, that's who Apostle Paul was going to, and that proves it. And this ties back to Acts, the 15th chapter. All that in Syria. Those are not literal Syrians like Aram or heathens. Those are just Israelites that were at Antioch of Syria when you read Acts the 15th chapter. That's all that was, and this right here proves it. But this was a false rumor that was going around. All right, this was a false rumor that was being spread out about Apostle Paul, saying that he was teaching Israelite foreigners, or Israelites among these different nations, to forsake Moses. Okay, and telling them that because he wasn't, and that goes back to Acts 15, because it wasn't that he was telling them, like, what you read Acts 15, right? That was all about circumcision. Okay, when you read about the yoke, okay, the yoke was basically salvation through the law. We failed through that. Okay, we were in these fleshly bodies. We cannot keep the law perfectly. Okay, we can't. That's why that yoke of the law, which neither our nor our fathers could keep, neither us nor our fathers could keep, and do it perfectly. Why would you put these on these Israelite foreigners? Okay, so that's what that was. That's all that was going into. All right, because so salvation isn't through the law. Salvation is through grace. Salvation is through faith, and that's repeated so many times in Acts 15. It's not even funny, man. All right, it's not even funny. But that's what that was going on about. But this is a false rumor. This is not true, and that's a way to think about it today too, because we have false rumors about us too. Oh, you guys teach that women need to just lay down and get beat up and this and that, and now we're teaching about cruelty towards women and this and that. Oh, you just want to have the woman in the house. Number one, the woman wants to be in the house. They lying, bro. Because women, they don't really know what the fuck they want to do. First they oh, I want to be outside, because they made those deals with Esau, and they're dealing with Esau and his philosophies, Eve and the serpent once again, so on and so forth, right? But they go outside. Oh man, oh bitch, I hate being out here. I hate all these bitches. I want to go back in the house. Bitch, you were first complaining about how you were in the house too long. Now you outside the house. Now you want to go back in the house. Man, we're not talking about women today, man. Fuck the woman, man. Other brothers can explain it better than me, because I don't give a shit about that right now, bro. This is more important. Verse 22. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that thou art come. All right, this thing is about to boil up. So these people are certainly gonna know. They know that you're here, man. They're gonna know that you're here, and we need to do something. Okay, verse 23. Do therefore this, that we say unto thee, we have 4 men which have a vow on them, right? Nazarite vow. Verse 24, them take and purify themselves with them, be at charges with them, and that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things were of they were confirmed concerning thee are nothing, but that thou thyself also walk orderly and keepest the law. Which goes back to you know, basically the Nazarite vow, which you read about like Numbers the 6th chapter, and basically about they're telling Apostle Paul, hey, we have these men here, you take these men and sponsor and join them in a Nazarite vow. Because you can also read about that Apostle Paul kept the Nazarite vow because he shorn his head in Shintria, which you can read about in maybe Acts the 18th or 19th chapter. But don't quote me on that. Just looked up Paul had a vow and shorn his head. Shorn his head, I mean he just cut off his hair, which goes back to Numbers the 6th chapter. All right, but I want to actually get a quick point on this real quick. All right, shalom. So I want to get into another scripture which goes into this why Apostle Paul did what he did. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19. For though I be free from all men, yet I have made myself servant unto all that I might gain the more. All right, so Apostle Paul was very humble. And we're supposed to have that same spirit in this truth. Be a servant to all, meaning to help everyone, to be kind toward others, and have that lowly kind of humble kind of state about you. That's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to put off that old man of being prideful and malicious. We're supposed to be that way. Verse 20, and unto the Jews, I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. All right, mainly the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, because northern kingdom for the most part came over to America. However, at the same time, you do have northern kingdom that are still in the east to this day. Okay, so it gets deep, bro. It gets deep. So Israelites are all over the place, and that goes back to Acts the 10th chapter and a lot of scriptures and all over the Old Testament. But we don't gotta go into all those today, man. Maybe that might come soon. Just a Israelite foreigners video. Maybe get like a scripture out the Old Testament and just go into those, because I don't go into those enough. I need to sharpen up on Old Testament prophecies, especially with Israelite foreigners. With destruction, there's so much. It's not even funny. You got Jeremiah 50. You got Isaiah 63. I like that one. You got a lot, man. You got a lot. All right. Let me see if I could think of some more. Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51. Let's see what else. I know I've read more. Isaiah 14. Isaiah 13. Damn, man. There's more. Numbers 24. That's another one. But yeah, those are just some I thought of off the bat. But those are all destruction, heathens getting fucked up, so on and so forth. But there's also prophecies on in the Old Testament about Israelite foreigners. There's also prophecies about Yahweh Shai, which like Psalms, the 2nd chapter. I think Psalms 22. The dogs have compassed me round about. Edomites are called dogs. So if Edomites can be saved, how come they're called dogs by King David in Psalm 22 and I think 16? So it doesn't add up. Doesn't add up one bit. All right, but as you can see here, right, unto the Jews, I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. All right, so basically, the Apostle Paul is saying here. Let's actually look it up in let's read the 20th verse and read the NLT version. When I was with the Jews, I lived like a Jew to bring the Jews to Yahweh Shai. So he acted, and did what he had to do to bring the Jews to Yahweh Shai. Because if he didn't, and he brought out the things that he would bring out to Israelite foreigners, then it would bring, they wouldn't want to come in. Those things that you gotta give people time. When I was with those who followed the Jewish law, I too lived under that law, even though I'm not subject to the law, I did this so I could bring to Yahushua Mashiach those who are under the law. So that's why Apostle Paul did it. All for Yahushua, man. You know? So Apostle Paul knew that Apostle Paul did that, to bring them to Yahushua, you know? Which and once again today, I mean, we're not in the same times, man. There's no, it's not the same today. Our people, we don't have to do that, man. Our people, all the people that we deal with today are not under the law, man. None of them are under the law. So that goes back to other scriptures, the curses. But when we come out there on the highways and byways, we just tell you, keep the law to the best of your ability. We're gonna tell you, hey, you need to, stop with adultery. There's certain laws you have to keep. All right. But that's why Apostle Paul did this, what you read about here in Acts 21 and 21. Okay. So Acts 21 and 25, as touching the Gentiles which believed, is like foreigners, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing, okay, save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, from strangled, and from fornication. So this is what came to pass with Acts the 15th chapter, which you should read maybe up to like around the 30th verse. But once again, I've done a video on it on my old pages. I've done like 5-part video on it. I know there's elders in Dallas that did a video on that, and not a difficult chapter to understand. And you have resources. It was a pain, and you know what to find a lot of the commentaries, because like I went to go do a lot of digging on my own, for it, and but once you kind of get it down and you kind of see, oh yeah, that's what that's talking about, and oh yeah, that goes into Cornelius and his household, then you start to see, oh yeah, okay, now I see what's going on here. Everything to do spirit, because once again, we ain't shit, man. We ain't shit. All right, but at the same time, we're supposed to study to show ourselves approved. So yeah, the information's out there. You just got to go research it, and I let you brothers know that I got those videos. Now, when you hear about the blood and the strangled, when you strangle animals, the blood is left in the animal, and blood was a pagan delicacy in the ancient world, so that's why they did that. Fornication, like you see, sexual immorality, so spiritual level as well as adultery. So don't do that shit, and stay away from things offered unto idols, man. So of course back then, you had that, but today, we can't be over righteous. Same way you had back then, you can't be over righteous. So abstain from these things. But once again, what are we gonna do, man? Like if you go to a Christian church, and a Christian church, like there's a Christian church that's not too far from me, and not way before I was in the truth. I would go there, yeah, my father, and I would get like some fried chicken, some yams, and some mac and cheese, and that shit's good. But that right there is food sacrificing to idols, offered up to idols, because they're giving it to white Jesus. They're giving it to that false idol of that false idol, Jesus. So that's food offered unto idols. If you go to halal, I know bros like halal food. Halal food is food offering to idols. That's offering to Allah, right? We know what that whole thing with Islam and 365 gods for every day of the year. So we can't be all righteous. You think like that, man. I mean, even food here, who knows what they did to it, So I mean, you can't. If you go to a farm, if you go to like a farmer's market, depending on where you are, like down in Ithaca, well, up in Ithaca, we have farmers markets. A lot of those farmers markets are probably Christian, so you can't buy from the farmers markets and get premium food from them, you know. So once again, you can't be over righteous. But that's already written. But that also shows that the law isn't done away with. Acts 21:26. Then Paul took the men, and the next day, purifying himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. Okay, so he did the whole purification rites. And when the 7 days were almost ended, the Jews which were of Asia, when he saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him. All right, so the Jews from Asia Minor, they saw Paul in the temple, and they roused up a mob against him, and they grabbed him when you read it in the NLT version. All right, but I want to go check something out real quick. All right, Shalom. I just wanted to check that out. And when you see here, when it says 7 days, that's about the time it takes for the whole, like, ceremony to take place, like everything to be done. And you can read about more about that in Numbers, the 6th chapter. But I just read through it and just to check it out, and you can go look into the deeper levels of it. So yeah, I'll read again. Acts 21:27. When the 7 days were almost ended, the Jews which are of Asia, Asia Minor, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him, crying out, "Men of Israel, help! This is the man that teaches all men everywhere against the people and the law in this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple and have polluted this holy place," which this is a lie, because Apostle Paul, when you read up ahead, and it's gonna actually gonna explain later down in a minute, but Apostle Paul, the Israelites, the let me see here, the apostles or the elders, so I can explain this right. When they went in, when Apostle Paul was talking to them, he wasn't given Israelite foreigners to go into the temple. They gave him, like, Israelites from Jerusalem. He wasn't given Israelite foreigners. So what you're reading about here in Acts 29, Acts 28, these men of Asia were lying, man. This is a baseless accusation. All right, so that's what happened, bro. Once again, 2/3 today, they do that same fucking behavior, man. Here in America, they do the same shit. I'll read it again. Acts 21:28. Crying out, "Men of Israel, help! This is the man that teaches all men everywhere against the people and the law in this place, and further brought Greeks also into the temple and have polluted this holy place." So, uh, so as you can see, NLT version, "Men of Israel, help us!" Once again, but these guys are in Asia. What? What? I thought everyone could be saved. What? These guys are from Asia Minor. What? They said men of Israel. What? Man, y'all niggas on no shit, yo. Like y'all are fucked. I mean, this is another one. This is another one proving that salvation is only for Israel, man. It's everything is about Israel, bro. Okay? So this is the people, this is the man that preaches against our people everywhere and tells everybody to obey the Jewish laws, which we already broke down is not true, because Acts 15 chapter, they were told to obey the law, okay? He speaks against the temple and even defiles holy place by bringing in Gentiles, which is not true. Verse 29, for they had seen before him in the city, before with him in the city, with Trophimus in Ephesian, which is one of the men that came with him. Read Acts 20th chapter, whom they supposed that Paul had brought into the temple, but he didn't. He did not bring this Israelite foreigner into the temple with him. All right, and I'm gonna get a little source on that, because this is a lie that these Jews, Israelites, right, that were in Asia brought out. Which, once again, you have Israelites in different regions. Okay, all right. This is source number one. This is from EnduringWord.com. And this is a commentary that we're reading about in Acts, the 21st chapter. And to get to the point, Trophimus the Ephesian, whom they said, suppose Paul brought into the temple, it was absolutely prohibited for Gentiles to go beyond the designated court of the Gentiles. So that goes back to Herod's temple, which we're going to get a source on that in a minute, in the temple grounds. All right, so this was a temple, a court of the Gentiles, which is like a specific place that, like, basically non-Israelites, Israelite foreigners, or Israelites that were just in an impure state, whether they were, on some other shit, and then, not following the law, uncircumcised, whatever the case may be, they were allowed to go in there. And I'm talking about Israelite foreigners that were separated from the law, because you have Israelites that were abroad, but still were zealous about the law, all right? Even though they did not care for Yahushai, or so on and so forth. They did not believe on Yahweh Shai, like we have here with these Jews in Asia, which they got Apostle Paul jacked up. All right, and they're following the law, but they were just from a different place. They were just in Asia. Okay, so let's read it again. It was absolutely prepared for Gentiles to go beyond the designated court of the Gentiles in the temple grounds. Signs were posted which read in both Greek and Latin, "No foreigner may enter within the barricade which surrounds the temple and enclosure. Anyone who is caught trespassing will bear personal responsibility for his ensuing death." The Romans were so sensitive to this that they authorized the Jews to execute anyone that offended in this way, even if the offender was a Roman citizen. All right, so we're going to go get another source on that. Okay, so this is another site, gotquestions.org. What was Herod's temple? When David was king, he asked the Most High if he could build the temple. First Chronicles 17, 1 through 15, which I'm pretty sure it's also in Kings. I think also in 2 Samuel's, maybe, but I don't know. The Most High told him no, but allowed him to gather the materials his son Solomon would need to build it. I know that's also written in maybe First Kings as well, that you're reading here, First Chronicles 22, verse 2 through 5. Solomon's temple was destroyed and ransacked by the Babylonians in 586 BC. 2 Kings 25, chapter 25, verse 9. King Cyrus of Persia allowed the temple to be rebuilt. Ezra chapter 1, verse 2, under leadership of Zerubbabel. Which you can, look into that history on your own. Over the next 400 years, Assyria's Gentile rulers eternally built up and defiled the second temple, right? Because we were going through it. The cycle culminated in a 39 BC battle in which King Herod took control of the temple, slaughtering many of the priests and defenders in the process, but also keeping the Roman soldiers from entering the sanctuary. Herod proposed to renovate the temple in 20 to 19 BC circa. His reason being the post-exilic temple was 60 cubits shorter than Solomon's original. Despite Jews' fear that he meant to tear it down and rebuild, the main work of the temple was completed in 1.5 years, in the outer courtyard in 8 years. Finishing touches continued into 63. Herod's temple then was a restoration and expansion of Zerubbabel's second temple. So basically his reason for doing it was that the post-exile, so after we were, kicked out and ransacked and dragged away into Babylon, after that, the temple that was built after was a bit shorter than Solomon's original. So Herod wanted to, build it up, which that goes into more political bullshit Herod was doing. Like he was trying to basically say that he was that he was an Israelite, which is a bunch of bullshit because that goes all the way back to his father's he's an Edomite, man. One of his fathers literally like has Idumean in his name, man. All right, so that's where you get Herod's temple, and that court of the Gentiles was in Herod's temple, which we're gonna get a source on that real quick too. All right, so here is what we read about here. This is gotquestions.org once again, and I'm pretty sure, I hope I didn't read this already, because I think we only touched on, let me go double check real quick. No, I don't think we touched on this yet. But here's what I wanted to touch about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about, I hope I didn't. But Herod's temple, destroyed with the rest of Jerusalem by the Romans in AD 70, contained 4 separate courts separated from one another and each designated for a different purpose. The court of the Gentiles, the court of the woman, the court of Israel, the court of men, and the court of priests. The court of the Gentiles referred to as the outer court. No, well, I don't think that's Revelation 11 and 2. I think that's talking about something else, but it's a different breakdown that goes into Revelation 11 that elders and apostles talk about all the time. The court of the Gentiles is the outermost courtyard, the only area of the temple where non-Jews were allowed. As the name implies, the court of the Gentiles was accessible to Gentiles, foreigners, Israelite foreigners, and those who were considered impure, right? So Israelite foreigners, were in that Gentile state of mind, and just or Israelites that were uncircumcised. Once again, they were in that Gentile state of mind, even though they maybe kept the law to the best of their ability, they would still be considered an Israelite foreigner, as in the case of this Trophimus and Ephesian, which they had thought Apostle Paul brought to the temple, which that's that what Slakia, which they made a lie. They saw Apostle Paul bring into the temple, and then they fabricated it and just blew it up to basically get at him. All right. Their worshippers could mill about, exchange money, and even buy animals for sacrifices. It was from the court of the Gentiles that Yahushua on two occasions drew out the money changes, declaring, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you make it a den of robbers." I believe one of them he took like a whip or something and was getting at him with the whip. But you can read about that. And the rest doesn't really matter to us, right? Right. You have one part. You have different parts, but this goes back to Herod's temple. All right, so that's the point on that. All right. This is the book of Acts, the 21, verse 30. And all the city was moved, and the people ran together, and they took Paul, and they drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut. So obviously, Apostle Paul knew about that sign, and he knew, right? Israelite foreigners knew if they went beyond that sign to go into like whatever they went to, these men probably went to the court of men, right, for the ceremony or whatever. I'm not gonna look into every little nookie cranny, but I know for sure maybe they would, if it's a ceremony, maybe they did go into the court of the priest. I'm not gonna look into all that, but um, as you can see here, Apostle Paul, Israelite foreigners were more than cognizant of that, and that the penalty would be death. These Israelites here made up a lie, and they were cognizant of that too, and they fabricated this lie to try to get Apostle Paul, you know, jacked up basically. So, and all the city was moved, and the people ran together, and they took Paul and drew him out of the temple, and forthwith the doors were shut. Now that's, and then you get the rest that comes to pass. But this is why, Apostle Paul is arrested, which you can read about later on. So that's basically it. So Lord willing, you brothers were edified. I know we went to a lot of information here, but once again, this information's out there. And Shalom.